I think as entrepreneurs, we just have this this misconception that going into business for yourself means going into business by yourself. And that does not have to be the case. You know, entrepreneurship can be very, very isolating. And so it's good to not only have the support system in place, but also I think in the beginning, there's maybe a cash flow issue. You know, when you're just starting out, it's like, well, I can't afford to hire this person and this person and this person. I'd love to, but I can't. And then there just comes a point where, you know, I think you're kind of creeping on that line of burnout if you're doing it all, because you get to a place where now you can spend 40 hours a week serving your clients, and what you're left with is nights and weekends to work on your business.
Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Christy Yoder, host of the Master Delegator Podcast. The Master Delegator Podcast is for busy and overwhelmed entrepreneurs who want to learn how to become effective in the area of delegation and learn how to hire great virtual assistants to help them scale their business and have more time and freedom. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. All right, let's get started. For today's episode, I have a podcast guest. Her name is Julie Goodall. Julie is a passionate, versatile, MacGyver-like entrepreneur dedicated to helping business owners make sure their business is running at optimum efficiency and they are uniquely positioned to achieve world domination, or at least what they set out to accomplish. She is oddly interested in all the things that most people hate about running a business, from nonprofits and consultants to photographers and graphic designers. Julie helps business owners get organized, get automated, and take their business to the next level. Julie believes the back office of a business is essential to success, and while most people dread the finances, systems, and strategizing that is necessary evil, Julie puts her OCD to good use, making sure everything is reconciled and color-coded so owners can focus on the parts they love, the reason they got into business to begin with. She specializes in mastering the parts people enjoy the least, leaving them free to focus on their dream. When she is not managing workflows or reconciling accounts, she enjoys adventures with her family, traveling, food, both preparing and eating, movie nights, and trying to figure out how to do the millions of things on her bucket list before she's too old to enjoy them or remember what they are. So, here's Julie. Hey, welcome, Julie, to the Master Delegator Podcast. I am so excited to get to know you and your business, and I'm sure that you're going to be able to provide more value here, on our show. And one of the things that I'm excited about is because we're going to talk about how you can control your time and how you can, manage it and make sure that you are living a flexible life with freedom, because what's the point of having our own business if we don't have freedom and flexibility, right?
Exactly.
But before we dive in, why don't you tell us about you? What is your business all about and how did you get started?
Yeah, certainly. So my name is Julie Goodall. My business is Genesis Consulting, and this is actually my third business. This business was formed a little bit by accident. I was kind of between businesses and was helping a fellow entrepreneur with, I guess, what I call the back office noise, right? So people get into business to do what they love, what they're exceptional at. And if they see any kind of success, before long, they're spending the majority of their time running a business instead of, kind of working at what they thought they were going to be doing. And so I met this fabulous attorney who was, again, exceptional at what he did and got a little lost behind the scenes, if you will. And so I was helping him, to make sure he was invoicing his clients and managing kind of the inquiries that came in through the website and all of the other stuff. And he said to me one day, he's like, you could start a business out of this right arm thing, because he used to introduce me as his right arm. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, I help people set up businesses. I set up their LLCs, and they all need a right arm. They get into business and they get so behind on all this stuff that you're doing for me. I bet you could help them too. And kind of before I had even really thought it through, he started making these introductions. And so I did. And I love that stuff. I'm a little type A kind of, OCD. And so organization and efficiency is my jam. And turns out it's not everybody's cup of tea. So a lot of folks are more than happy to hand that off. And it just kind of grew organically from there into a part-time thing and then eventually a full-time thing. And now there are 6 of us, and it's, 7, 8 years later. And we help people with the back office noise and help them delegate or automate and get back to doing what they love. So it's pretty awesome.
Wow, that is a great story. Sometimes we don't really realize what we can do until other people push us or encourages us, to do what we are good at. And to think that, you mentioned that you help this attorney, send invoices to his clients, and to think that, sending invoices is such an easy thing to do for a business owner, because, you're sending an invoice. If you don't send an invoice, you're not gonna get your money, right?
Right.
So the fact that, some business owners can't send invoices, it's not that they don't want to, it's just because they don't have the time to do it. It's it's an example of a task that you can delegate to other people, have other people send invoices to your clients. And that's actually one of my struggles as well when I was starting out in the business. I have um a lot of clients, and at first I wasn't automating my invoices, so I had to like manually send them an invoice every month, different dates a month. And it's a lot. If you have like 10 clients and you're doing that, you're sending them invoices a month on different days, then it's gonna take a toll on you. But thank God for automation and delegation. We don't have to worry about that. So I love that you also said that you were the right arm of your previous client. And can you like just explain what a right arm is? Like, because it can be like a right hand, like a right arm. So
Yes.
in terms of delegation, what is a right arm?
Yeah. So the right arm has actually, at least in this case, I still work with this man, but it's evolved over the years. I did a lot of stuff for him that I had time to do then. He was, my only client when I started. And so I was doing things for him like his website and his blogs and really office organization. It was really whatever he needed to get organized so that he could focus on his one thing. Now, I don't do that anymore because I really believe in people staying in their zone of genius.
Right.
And while I can do those things, it's not a great use of my time. And that's something I talk to clients about all the time. Like, it's not that you can't do these things, right? It's not like you can't manage your books or respond to your clients. Is it a good use of your time? If you can do that one thing and it's a high billable rate and a high value to your clients, then is it really good to be spending 10 hours a week doing these other things that could easily be delegated? And oftentimes, when you delegate to people who do these things for a living, it can be done a lot faster than if we struggle through on our own. I think all the time of like, if I were to fix my own car or my own plumbing issues, could I eventually figure it out with a number of YouTube videos? Probably.
Yeah.
But should I? Is that a good use of my time?
Yeah.
And for me, the answer is no. There are experts that do that. I don't need to spend my time doing that. I'll let them do it and I'll get back to what I'm good at.
That's true. So you were a right arm before, and now you have your own business. You have different right arms. You probably have right and left arms now.
Absolutely.
Because you are now 6 in your team. So
Yes.
What have you learned so far when you started your own business? So now that you are not the one working on your clients' projects, I'm not really sure. But I just have an assumption that you're not the right arm anymore. You're providing, the right arm to your clients now. So, yeah, tell me about your challenges and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. So, as much as I do this for other people, if you've experienced anything like this, it's harder to do for yourself, right? It's easier to help other people than to do it yourself. And so, I think as entrepreneurs, we just have this misconception that going into business for yourself means going into business by yourself. And that does not have to be the case. Entrepreneurship can be very, very isolating. And so it's good to not only have the support system in place, but also I think in the beginning, there's maybe a cash flow issue. When you're just starting out, it's like, well, I can't afford to hire this person and this person and this person. I'd love to, but I can't. And then there just comes a point where I think you're kind of creeping on that line of burnout if you're doing it all, because you get to a place where now you can spend 40 hours a week serving your clients, and what you're left with is nights and weekends to work on your business. And that's not sustainable for very long for most people. I mean, some people have a higher threshold than others,
Yeah.
But it's not healthy either way. You kind of want that work-life balance at least a little bit. And so figuring out what you're willing to delegate and to whom, and or automate, right? Because that's a thing. Sometimes you don't need a person, you just need a better system.
Hmm.
And so what I've always encouraged clients to do is to make a list, just kind of brain dump everything that you have to do. And it could be for your business, for your personal life, as a mother or a wife or a sister, or you know what I mean? Like all the things.
Hmm.
And then really look at, what are the things you enjoy the most? Because that's important too. Just because they're there doesn't mean that they're all enjoyable. So what things are the best use of your time? Which things are the most enjoyable? And what on that list could easily be delegated to somebody else? And like I said, in the beginning, it might be a cost thing. I remember being in a place where I was like, I can't afford to have somebody clean my house or mow my lawn. And then now fast forward a few years later, and it's like, it takes me 2 hours to mow my lawn. Is that really a good use of my time? Or could I spend time with my kids or, my husband, or do something else that would be more valuable to me and give somebody else a job? And now I write those checks with absolute gratitude. I'm just, yes, please mow my lawn. I'm not
Yeah.
too good for it. I'm not above it. It's bandwidth. We all only have so much time, and that's something I've chosen not to spend my time on right now,
I totally can relate to you. If you don't like mowing, I mean, I don't like mowing. I told my husband when we bought a house that I'm not gonna mow our lawn.
Yeah.
That he's the one doing it. And
Yep.
thankfully, I have not lawn my lawn. I have not mowed my lawn ever since. But recently, I noticed that I have been vacuuming and mopping our living room, and it takes me about maybe 2 hours to do that because I deep clean.
Mhm.
And then I have been doing that for the past consecutive weeks, 3 weeks maybe consistently. And on my third week, I told my husband, you know what? I need a robot. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
Roomba
Oh
iRobot.
yeah.
I told him I need to invest in that because it's Saturday today. Like I said, I need to like rest. I need to watch my TV shows. And
Yeah.
so the next day, we bought a robot. I mean, it's not Roomba, but it's
Mhm.
similar brand, and we got it on Amazon. And ever since, I never had to worry about vacuuming my living room because we have a dog too, and he sheds
Yes.
so much. So even that kind of simple thing, even if it's
Yeah.
not in your professional life, it's even if it's in your personal life, you also have to be smart. What do you love doing?
Absolutely.
And if you don't love doing something, then delegate that, buy something that will help you do that one thing that you don't like doing. And one thing
Absolutely.
that I actually regret this year is putting up my pool.
Mm.
I don't know if you have a pool,
You do. They're a
your
lot of
property.
maintenance.
I love swimming, but this is my first time to set up an above ground pool. And
Yeah.
I mean, the first month I enjoyed it, but after that I'm like, I'm done. Like there's just so much maintenance that you need to do, and now it's all green and I'm like, I don't even want to take care of it anymore, I just want to put it down already. And now it's kind of like I'm kind of like at the point where I'm like, can I hire somebody to like clean this for me, because I just don't want to do it. It's going to take me, it took us like a day to clean it before putting water in it. So I was like, yeah, I don't like doing this. I better hire somebody to clean this for me. So yeah, I think what I just want to point out and just want to add to what you have already mentioned is that delegation does not only apply to your professional life but also to your personal life.
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
So let's go to our main topic for this episode, which is being able to relinquish uh, you know time and be able to regain time. What are you doing personally to be able to achieve those things?
Yeah, so it's probably one of the hardest things I've done as a business owner. And I didn't think of myself as somebody with an ego prior to, the last year or two. I would have said I didn't have one at all. And then I realized that I do, because I kept thinking, well, I can't give this task away because nobody will understand XYZ, or nobody will handle this client, with that white glove treatment like I do, or nobody could understand my calendar. And that's not fair. That's my ego talking. It's not that complicated. I'm not the only one who can do these things. But it does take, you've got to release that death grip that you've got on the reins. And I think sometimes that needs to happen. If you come to this point where you have to, like, for your own sanity, like, you can't take on anything else. You've got to let it go. And so hiring an assistant was the best thing I ever did. So I've hired people to do, like, we offer, like I said, bookkeeping and back office stuff. And I had hired that a number of years ago. But working with my own business coach over the last year, like, email is the bane of my existence. I hate it. I do everything via email and I have to, but it literally gives me anxiety. Like, every morning I start my day and I open my inbox, and even if I had pared it all down the night before, there could be 50 new messages. And even though I've had this conversation with her, but like, even though I know that maybe 20 of them are spam, they're not even action items, they're not things I need to do, there's something that happens starting my day and seeing that number that just gives me this anxiety. And I was like, I would love for somebody to check my email, but that feels so extravagant. It just feels so like, I just think of these really wealthy, successful people that have assistants, and it just felt so far, from where I was. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, well, what if I created like an email triage protocol, where it's like, if it's from this person, this happens. If it's from this company, it gets foldered and saved. Like, we don't delete it, but I don't need to see it. And if it's this, and I created like this how-to guide, and A, it didn't take nearly as long as I thought it was going to. And B, the fabulous person that I hired not only was able to interpret my instructions and understand my calendar and everything, but she's gone above and beyond what I ever expected. And so now what happens is she checks my email before 8 a.m. So whenever I log in, there's almost no unread messages. So even if the inbox is full, there's something about not seeing that like 50 or 60 number. And then she's already dealt with the ones that are spam, or like a response that just said thank you, which is wonderful, but I don't need to read 30 thank yous in the morning. I just need to get on to like, what do I need to do? And that has been absolutely life-changing. Like, I cannot say enough about that. And maybe other people don't hate email as much as I do. And I shouldn't say it's necessary, right? I don't hate it, but it's like a big to-do list. that's never ending. It's like whack-a-mole, you get rid of one, you take care of it, and then another one pops up. And so it's been the best money ever spent to have her do that. And it also gives me some flexibility and breathing room cause she looks at my calendar, and this is not something I asked her to do. She looks at my calendar for the week, and if she sees that I've got like an all-day meeting, she'll check my email multiple times throughout that day because she knows I can't. So instead of just checking it before I get in the morning, she checks it regularly and then texts me if there's something that comes up that really does need my attention. But it takes the pressure off. I don't have to worry during that all-day meeting if there's something in my inbox that's like on fire and needing me. So letting go of that control. And I think once you do it once and you have a positive experience, it lets you breathe a little easier and let you kind of decide what else I might try this with. For me, it was positive, and now I'm like, great, what else could she do, since she's amazing, that I don't want to do that she might like? And, it gives her money in her pocket, and I'm happy to pay it because the peace of mind I get is well worth twice what I pay her. Like, it's just, the value to me is immeasurable.
Yeah. And I totally can relate, you know, to your hatred towards email. Hatred is such a strong word.
I
I should have
know, I
not used
know.
that. I don't like. So I have two emails that I access every day, my business email and my personal email. My personal email is like a mix of business and personal, where I get too many spam emails. And
Yes.
to be honest, right now I have like 400 plus emails in there right now. And I don't like looking at it.
Hmm.
And so I really don't like it. I'm not the type of person who loves, to the admin. I'm more the type of a person who loves, strategic thinking and working on some technical things. So yeah, I also have an assistant who checks my calendar and my email, for me before I start working. So um this is actually a great, you know, idea to regain your time. And also not just time, to have peace of mind as well. Because I think if you don't have peace of mind and you have a lot of time, what's the point if you're
Right.
gonna spend all that time thinking about worrying about something? And
Yeah.
so when you delegated your email in your calendar, how did you let go of control? Because for me, like when I hired an assistant to check on my inbox and my calendar, and my inbox, my business email is connected to my Google Drive, which is for business. And in our Google Drive, that's where we have our financial statements or everything that is kind of private,
Hmm.
that any that not all people in our agency should have access to. So how did you manage that?
Yeah. So I mean, now she has access to most everything, but I have a separate system for financial stuff. So I don't actually have a lot of financial stuff that lives in there. But I gave her access to a lot of stuff. And at first, you're right, it is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But it's like, I also don't want, because I've been in the position where I'm hired to do something, but it's like I'm hired to do it with my hands tied behind my back because they don't want to give me access to the things I need to do my job well. So I also spent the time to build out things that would make her life easier. So it took more time leading up to onboarding her, but I created things like, here's my staff list, and here's the clients that go with each person and what the tasks are that each of them can do. So if you get an email from this client, you can look at this cheat sheet and see who it goes to. And that eliminates her having to ask me for that kind of thing. So I also created some cheat sheets. And there are some folders that are private to me, and those, have moved to a separate drive or whatever. But for the most part, she has access to quite a few things. I think it's about hiring slow and firing fast. So making sure you've got the right person in the role and you trust them, because then it's sort of a non-issue. The people on my staff I trust implicitly. We work with a lot of financial and confidential information, so I couldn't have somebody doing any of the work that we do if I didn't trust them with everything I've got.
Right.
Um, but creating the onboarding procedures is another time saver that, I found I had a little bit of turnover as I learned who I needed for which positions. We've all had that, hired somebody, they seem fantastic, and maybe they're fantastic as a person, but not right for the role. And so what I found was I'm training these people, and it's time consuming. It's not always enjoyable. There's a lot of, because it's addition to my work. During that onboarding phase, I'm doing all the work and I'm training and right.
Yeah.
And so what I did at first was create a lot of the protocols and then give her access to them and make it part of her job that she keeps those up to date. So she has ownership in those documents. So here's the how-to for this thing. And if something changes, if a step is added or there's something else, it's now your job to kind of continue to add the steps and add the details to that. And what's been great about it is when any one of us is on vacation or, God forbid, out sick because we've got COVID or whatever, we're able to easily reassign those tasks to each other. And each task comes with step-by-step instructions and often a how-to video that we've created, for one person that we've attached to the task, so that now I could literally give this to somebody brand new off the street and they would be able to do this task based on this thing that we've created. And it's almost eliminated the onboarding process. I mean, I still meet with them, but it's really more of a check-in. How are things feeling? How are you doing? Like, do you have questions that aren't covered here? But my last hire and I had a funny conversation because I was like, I just want to check in because I haven't heard anything, and that's frightening to me. It feels like maybe things aren't getting done. And it was like, no, it's just everything is so thorough that I've been able to use the instructions or the videos to figure out how to do everything. And I just really don't have any questions.
Wow.
And that was such a weird, uncomfortable place for me at first because I was like, how can you have no questions? But then I looked and I'm like, and she's doing everything right and on time. And this is why I did that, and it's just a gift that keeps on giving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And, like, it's hard to delegate. And I believe that you cannot be successful in delegation if you don't have the right system in place. You know, that's why I actually had a podcast guest here, and we talked about why hiring a virtual assistant should not be your first step, because you shouldn't hire a virtual assistant or a team member if you don't have your processes, your business processes in place. So you
Mhm.
probably need a business manager, or if you don't need a business manager, maybe you, the business owner, should, or could come up with those business processes, because you're the one anyway who knows the ins and outs of your business, right? So yeah, so I totally agree with what you said there, and I like that, you have your processes in place to help your team members or your employees be successful in their job. So how so now that you have like 60 members, I don't know if you're included in the 6 individuals working in your company. Are you a part of that? Okay,
Yeah.
so now that you have like 5 team members and you are delegating your tasks to them, what have you accomplished, or what have you been able to accomplish personally and professionally?
Oh, great question. Um, More than I ever thought possible is the short answer. Professionally, what it's allowed me to do is keep on my calendar, my list, only the things that I really enjoyed doing that are a really good use of my time. Things that I feel that I do exceptionally well, versus the stuff that I think that lots of people can do where I can easily delegate it. So I stay in my zone of genius. I do the things that I love to do, but it's also really opened up my time. My big goal for my business the last 2 years, actually it's going to sound kind of funny, is to work less and make more. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to work more and more and more. Like, that is not attractive to me at all. But while I want to slow down and have more work-life balance, I also don't want to make less money doing it. And so at first that seemed kind of like a pipe dream, right? It's like this, sure, that's a great idea, but how do you do that? And that's exactly how I did it, was getting the right people in place. So they run the day-to-day of my business. I can focus my time on being the face of the business and doing the marketing. I get myself out there and I can bring in the clients for them to do the work, because bringing them in is a one-time thing, and then they do the ongoing kind of recurring monthly stuff. So what I'm doing makes me happy. What I'm doing makes me profitable, because I am that marketing engine, right? Like, I don't have anybody on my staff that does that. So that's a good use of my time. But I've also been able to scale my hours. So my youngest daughter is just going into kindergarten. So her camp schedule and stuff for the summer was pretty rough. Basically I could work like 9 to 2, and it's not a lot of time. And I was able to keep up the same level of output, for the company, with me working significantly less hours than I ever have in the past. And it's also allowed me to be done at 2. When I say I'm done at 2, I don't check email, I don't return calls, I'm done. I'm present with my kids. So I have a better relationship with them than I ever have, because I'm theirs from 2 till they go to bed. And it's also allowed me to inject some self-care in there, which I hadn't done in a number of years and needed desperately, taking care of myself and exercising and seeing friends and taking up hobbies. That always felt kind of frivolous when I was building my business. Like, no, all of my efforts must be in Genesis right now. And it turns out that's not the case. The more well-rested and well-rounded and well taken care of I am, the better I show up for not only my clients, but my family and everybody else in my life. And so the output in all those areas is just, it's threefold, even though I'm
Wow.
working less. So it's really been kind of a dream this year.
That is really a dream, and that's a dream of so many business owners. And that's why I have this podcast, to teach them how to achieve that dream and, be able to live a flexible life and be able to do what they love the most. So, where can people find you online, and share with us if you have like any promotions or freebies?
Yeah. Um, so probably the website would be the best. It's Genesis, all spelled out, Genesis Consulting Corp, CORP.com. They can get email and phone number from there. We're on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Alignable, Facebook,
Hmm.
all that good stuff. And we don't have any promotions per se right now, but I always do a free 30-minute discovery call. So if folks want to get on the calendar and just talk about kind of their pain points and where they're at in business, happy to offer suggestions or guidance, or try to connect them with somebody who can help if it's not me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Very welcome. Thanks for having me.